This is TWSN. You ain't heard about us yet, well you better know now, because it's the place that it all goes down.
And welcome back to another edition of the TWSN Tailgate Show. It's been a minute, but we are back to break down the college football playoff. We have another college football playoff game going on tomorrow night. As always, I am Matt Levine, your host, and I am joined by my semi-regular permanent co-star. You know, he is the star. I'm not the star. He's the star. Bill knows ball. That's the whole thing. Mr. Bill Sparks. Bill, how are you doing? We are back to talk some college football.
I am good to be back. I'm happy to be back here with you, Matt, after a round one that we'll get into it, but it just left a sour taste in my mouth, and I got a lot to say, but we'll talk about that in the show. But folks, make sure if you're watching over on YouTube, make sure you like this video, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, turn on that notification bell so you get notified when we go live with all sorts of fun content. But let's, without further ado, we've been without the people long enough, Matt, and they're ready to hear us chatter about it. Let's dive right in. What do we got?
What do we got, Bill? Well, we have to talk about the playoff that happened. It may have happened, what is it now? Like a week and a half ago or so.
Yeah.
2 weeks almost. But Bill, we got to talk about this because we had some actual playoff games. A few were decent games, and a few were not decent games. What is your I have a couple questions about the CFP for you, but just before I get into that, Bill, overall reaction to what you witnessed on the field, and what do you make of what you saw, essentially?
I think the biggest takeaway from round one is what we expected. Like this was rock chalk pretty much all the way through when you looked at the teams themselves and not so much the seeding. Although one of the games was a little surprising, the Alabama-Oklahoma matchup. We'll get into that. But, you know, Oregon wiping the floor with James Madison, Ole Miss wiping the floor with Tulane, Miami putting the pressure on Texas A&M. Those were all heavily favored, heavily predicted games. And it screams, we all talked about it, that the college football playoff got it right for the most part.
Yeah. But
the part where they didn't get it right is the group of five. And we saw that. Your group of five teams got outscored 92-44. That's not a loss. That's blowing the doors off of them. And it just proved that as much as Tulane thinks they should have been there, as much as JMU fans think they should have been there, they shouldn't have. It's a whole different class, and it's a whole different world in this college football playoff. And before we get to next year's iteration, we've got to have a conversation to fix this thing. It's got to be fixed, because otherwise you're just going to get these matchups where you just get the 5 seed and the 6 seed just waxing teams that don't deserve to be there.
Yeah, and you know, we'll talk about the group of 5 here in a minute. Just to recap for anybody that, you know, didn't pay attention to the college football playoff, Oregon took down James Madison, as Bill mentioned. Ole Miss, I mean, to be fair, the first half of the Ole Miss game was close.
Mm-hmm.
And then Ole Miss decided to actually show up and beat the bricks off of Tulane. Miami obviously took down Texas A&M and probably what was one of the more interesting games of the week. And then obviously you had Alabama coming back to beat Oklahoma. But I don't know, Bill. It's tough. This whole discussion is tough because if I ask you the question, should the group of 5 still be allowed to enter the college football playoff next season and beyond, right? Before I give my thoughts, because I think you and I have a little bit of differing ideas about this. I know you had a lot you wanted to get off your chest. You know, so what is your answer? You know, based off what we've seen and what we just witnessed here, is there even a realm of possibility that the CFP should even allow them into even have a conversation to get into the playoff?
Yep. I think there is, but there has to be a caveat. The automatic bid portion has to go away. We can't just say, yeah, they're the highest rated conference champion in the American or in the Sun Belt. They get in. No. You have to sit here and say, okay, you need to fall within the top 16 teams, right? That's got to be the first cutoff. You got to be within the top 16 teams. And this is with a 12-team bracket still. This is not expanding. If you expand to 16, then expand it out to top 20. But all right, 12-team bracket, top 16 teams. If you are a conference champion that lands in that top 16, then yes, automatic bid for you as the 11 seed or the 12 seed, because you've shown you can be competitive and hang with these teams. And the committee has said that you can hang with the teams based on the resume you have. But just saying that Tulane gets the 11 seed because they won the American when their resume didn't really show it, and the resume showed that they had matched up against Ole Miss previously and got waxed off the face of the planet. But yeah, by all means, let them in. James Madison, same conversation. Their resume didn't really show a team that could hang with an Oregon or hang with a Texas A&M, but they got in because they won their conference. I think we have to say, if you're going to give these automatic bids, you need to restrict the field that they fall into and say, okay, if you're in the top 16 teams and you win the conference, it's an automatic bid. But if you're a Tulane and you're ranked 23rd, just because you win the conference, great. Thanks for playing. But that's all it should be.
Yeah, and I think we agree on the automatic bid process. My one pushback about the blowouts is we saw so many blowouts last year with top programs. Tennessee got murdered basically in their game last year. SMU got murdered in their game last year. So I'm not going to sit here and say they shouldn't be allowed, right? I think we have to give them a chance to get in, but they have to prove themselves. None of this automatic crap. I'm sorry. I don't want to hear about any of this. If they are a top 12 team, they get in. Simple as that. I don't care. If you want my honest opinion, Bill, I don't even want automatic bids whatsoever. There should be no automatic bids. I don't care that if you won the ACC, good for you. Are you a top 12 team in the nation? I don't care if you won the Big Ten. Did you win? Are you a top 12 team in the country? Yep. No other sport does this with automatic bids, really, where just because I guess the NFL does kind of with the divisions, but like that's a whole other issue on its own. Top 12. If you are a top 12 team, if you are one of the best 12 teams in the country, you get into the playoff. Simple as that. It should not be more difficult than that, quite frankly, and it's going to make for a better product for the college football playoff because, quite frankly, this is now 6 of the 8 first-round games we have seen have been horrible, like actually horrible. And and I know no one anticipated last year's games to be as bad as they were, but they were. And it's because teams that should not have been there probably got in, and teams that shouldn't have been got left out. And that just also comes back to the whole question with this nonsense that we talked about last week about Notre Dame having a guaranteed spot if they're in the top 12. Like, I think college football is trending down a path where it's a slippery slope, and we're going to end up basically seeing on a year-to-year basis, realistically, 6 teams that can win the championship, and that's it. Like that is it. But 12 make the playoff. Yep. And I feel like that is a problem. We're getting into the territory of the NBA or the NFL, where you have all these teams that make the playoffs, but realistically, are they actually going to do anything when they get there? And it's because you have these automatic bids, you have all of these spots you have to fill, basically, instead of just putting in the best teams that were on the field from that season. And that's not a shot at Tulane. This is not a shot at James Madison. But let's be real about this. Oregon took their foot off the gas in the second half of the game. Otherwise, it would not have been as close as it was. Oregon was blowing them out of the water. They didn't belong on the same field as the Ducks in that first half. And then Oregon was like, yeah, we're up by so many. Who cares? What are we doing? On the other side, Tulane made it interesting for a minute, right? They had I think it was the fumble recovery at the end of the half. Ole Miss had 2 injuries. But then Ole Miss comes out in the third quarter and just says, you know what, this is our game. And it was basically the same score as it was in that first meeting. I think it was off by a couple points, but it was basically the same score. So why did we need to do this? And this isn't me advocating for a Notre Dame to get in, but I might have rather seen Notre Dame play off against Oregon or play Ole Miss. Quite frankly, it would have been a better product. And at the end of the day, the product is the sport, right? Like if the games all become like this, no one's going to watch, quite frankly. because it's just a piss poor product in the first round right now. Thank God the Alabama game and the Texas A&M game were good, because this might have been a horrible disaster for the CFP, having 2 straight years of horrible first round games. And it sucks too, because these games should be the best of the best, in my opinion, because you have home field. This is the coolest part of the CFP, is that you have teams having to go on other teams' home field into these hostile environments, and the crowds into it. You got the students there, and yes, they go travel to the neutral game. It's not the same feeling, though.
No,
not at all. And we've talked about it. I think that they should have a home field advantage throughout the entire playoffs. Now, if you want to have the championship game in a neutral site, fine, I get it, like the Super Bowl. But everything else, if you earn the top spot, get home games. It's like in any other sport. Force the team to go on the run, win.
Yep, exactly that.
It's just, I don't know. College football has some soul searching to do in a lot of ways, but that's, in my opinion, is one of them. But Bill, I have a question for you. Biggest surprises, biggest disappointments from this, because there were some cool moments. It wasn't all doom and gloom for college football. Biggest surprise, Bill. What was the biggest surprise for you throughout this?
I think the biggest surprise for me was that we got the Ty Simpson of old. We just watched Ty Simpson have probably one of the worst games of his career in the SEC championship against Georgia. And he came out and he actually looked pretty confident as a passer, layering balls in there, 232 yards and 2 touchdowns, making the same decisions that he did about a month ago, even after they fell behind early. It looked like we were in for the same old Alabama. They fell behind 17-7, got the field goal, tied it up at halftime. It was a quick pendulum swing. Excuse me. And for him to guide his team through that gave me hope that, hey, maybe we were just in a bit of a downswing for Ty Simpson. By that same token, the biggest disappointment was the Alabama Crimson Tide, and the fact that they still, to this point, have not figured out a way to run the ball. Like, it has become mind-numbingly impossible for them to run the ball. When your leading rusher has 9 carries for 43 yards, and you have another running back that's 7 carries for 11 yards, like, it's just, even if you take out Ty Simpson's negative 22 yards for his sacks, you're looking at 19 carries for 40 yards from this Alabama team. That is not college football playoff running game material. That's not even SEC running game. That's some MAC level statistics. Sorry to the MAC fans that are watching. So that's the biggest disappointment, and it's going to be the reason that Alabama gets bounced. Because if you can't run the ball and you're one-dimensional, teams are going to start teeing off on you again.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. They definitely need to figure out how to run the ball. We will talk about that in a few minutes here. I'm glad you brought up Alabama, because they are my biggest surprise, because this team showed me something I have been wondering about the Crimson Tide. What happens when you get punched in the mouth, right? Mm-hmm. That is something we hear all the time in sports. You get punched in the mouth. What happened? What do you do, essentially? Alabama had every reason to lay down in that football game. They were getting blown off the field by Oklahoma. As you said, it was going to turn into a rout, or was looking like it. All of the Kalen DeBoer rumors going on about how he might leave and all this stuff. And, if they lose, maybe he gets fired and he goes to Michigan. And But what did Alabama do? They dug in their boots. They said, you know what? We're the Crimson Tide. We are better than Oklahoma. And they showed it. They showed me the heart of a fighter. And honestly, I am a believer in the – look, I never once wavered from the Crimson Tide, going back to even after the Florida State loss. I told Josh back then, the Crimson Tide will be fine. They'll make the college football playoff. But I wanted to see how they would respond in a hostile environment, because the Oklahoma fans showed up. That was a cool environment out in Norman. I was really surprised by Alabama in a really great way. They just need to figure out how to run the damn ball. On the other side, disappointments. I think you said Alabama was a disappointment for you as well. You kind of mixed them together. For me, it's Texas A&M. through and through. You had a home playoff game at Kyle Field with those crazy 12 fans, whatever they want to call themselves down there, right, in College Station. And you put up 3 points. I get it. I get Miami has a good defense. I get it, right? What are we doing? Are you serious, Bill? Like, if I'm a Texas A&M fan, after the season you just put together, you finally put something together. You finally get to the college football playoff. And you go out there and have that kind of a performance in front of your home fans. It's not like they were on a neutral site in Miami, beat them. You made the Hurricanes come to you. And Texas A&M should be refunding every single person in that stadium, except for Miami fans, their money for what that performance was, because that was horrible. That was horrible, Bill.
No,
what do you think about the Texas A&M game? I sat there just like, what are we doing?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. The biggest concern, and we talked about it when we did our round 1 predictions, I said that the quarterback that makes the fewest mistakes is going to be the one that wins this game. And we saw that. Marcel Reed's 2 interceptions and the fumble. You cannot turn the ball over 3 times against a Miami team that can move the ball down the field. But also, when you're going up against this Miami defense, every possession counts. So the fact is, you gave away 2 in the interception, and then you had a fumble on top of it. Marcel Reed did everything that you are not supposed to do as a CFP quarterback. He put the ball in harm's way. He turned the ball over. He struggled all day long, either making the right read or being on time. There were a lot of times that I watched that game where that ball should have been out, and he's still holding on to it, trying to make a play. And I get it. He's trying to play hero ball against this defense that's just so otherworldly. That is probably pound for pound the best defense in the college football playoff, short of maybe Ohio State. And even then, if somebody said, I'm taking Miami's defensive line, I would agree with you, because Ruben Bain is a literal nightmare and an Avengers level threat. And then you have Akeem Mesidor on the other side. Absolutely. But the one thing he could not do, and I said it in the round 1 predictions, and I'll continue to say it all throughout his college career, is he cannot turn the ball over. When you do that, you are giving away points. And as talented as your offense is with Casey Concepcion and Mario Craver and the group of running backs that you have, if you give the other team points, you are going to be in a hole. This is what we saw in South Carolina, and I was fearful would show up in the CFP, and we got it.
Yeah, it was just a bad performance, and I think the Aggies are going to have a bad taste in their mouth all summer.
Yep.
But before we move on, I didn't even tell Bill I'm going to ask him this question. I want your opinion about something that I found very interesting. Did you see the comments that Pete Golding made after the Ole Miss game regarding Lane Kiffin and Charlie Weis, about how it's Charlie Weis's offense, not Lane Kiffin's offense, and that Charlie Weis deserves all of the credit, basically, and that Lane Kiffin's not here? What do you make of that? Because I make of it as he took a straight shot at Lane Kiffin, basically saying, we don't need you.
Mm-hmm. I would say the same, except for the fact, and correct me if I'm wrong, but Charlie Weis didn't call plays all season long. It was Lane Kiffin calling most of the plays this year. And the only reason Charlie Weis is calling the plays is because Lane Kiffin's in Baton Rouge. Now, here's the other thing, and the other component of it. It's very difficult to install a brand new offense out of the box in an entire summer. You've had 10 days to do it. I can guarantee you that if you did do that, the offense would not have hummed like it did, and it wouldn't be 41-10. It probably would have been 20-10, and everybody's asking, is Ole Miss frauds?
And I can almost guarantee that Charlie Weis, who can you remind me where he's employed right now?
That's a great question.
Is he with Ole Miss still? I mean, he's technically with them for the playoff, but like, is he with them going forward? I don't remember.
From whether I gathered, he was going to go to Baton Rouge with Lane Kiffin, as he was the first hires that Kiffin brought on to him.
And I can almost guarantee that the leading up into that game against Tulane, and even probably the morning of the game, he was on the phone with Lane Kiffin going over everything, because Lane Kiffin, for all his flaws, he wants Ole Miss to win. He has stake in Ole Miss winning because as anyone looked at his contract, I believe he gets $1 million if Ole Miss wins the championship. He's not even coaching there, and he still gets something if they win. So I don't want to hear it from Pete Golding. You took over a team that basically Lane built. I don't want to hear it. Go beat Georgia, and maybe we'll talk.
Yeah,
I'm done. I'm let the sleeping dogs die. Forget about Lane Kiffin. He's in your head, dude. Like,
yeah. And you know what's really hilarious? And you know what's really hilarious? What? Lane knows this. Lane knows he's in Pete's head. Because otherwise, why would he attend the Sugar Bowl with Louisiana governor?
Yep.
He knows 100%. He's in Pete's head.
100%. Lane is an ultimate troll, and I'm here for it. I cannot wait until LSU starts recruiting. It's going to be great. But before we move on, Bill, I have one question. I just want your quick reaction. Just again, I didn't tell you about this. Reaction to Michigan hiring Kyle Whittingham, because we had a head coach hiring since we talked last. Just quick reactions. What do you think? Do you think it was the right move, etc.?
I think it was the right move, but be apprehensive about it. And for two reasons. Number one, Kyle Whittingham is a defensive-minded coach, so his offensive coordinator hire is going to be key because he's churned through offensive coordinators during his time at Utah. So you've got to find a way to maximize Bryce Underwood's skill set, and you've got to find a way to be able to maximize that offense. The defense will be absolutely fine, but that was never the problem this season for Michigan. It was offensively. The second part, Kyle Whittingham is 66 years old, and he has flirted with retirement at Utah for what seems like the last 5 years. How long are you going to have him? This feels like a bit of a Band-Aid over a bullet hole because he's a great fit. Don't get me wrong. He's a great fit culture-wise. He's a great fit defensive-minded-wise. He is going to get you out of this Sharon Moore, Connor Stallions, sicko culture hole. But on the other side of it, what are you going to do next? And that's where I'm apprehensive because this isn't like a Nick Saban 66. This is a guy who was teetering on the brink of retirement. You'll probably have 4 years. You'll probably get one full recruiting class, and that's it.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of just feels like they wanted to bring someone in, help, build a culture there that they haven't had. I mean, they've had problems there. Let's be real. I know they won a championship. Jim Harbaugh leaves, but they've had problems. They've had some real problems, and they need someone to just stabilize everything, essentially.
Yeah.
And he's not the long-term fix, but he's a fix that the fans can get around for the next, like you said, 3-4 years. Then they can go get their new coach and figure it out once they stabilize themselves and get themselves into a new place. I like the move. I think Michigan fans were hoping for DeBoer, honestly. I don't know if DeBoer. I think Whittingham is a better fit for the Wolverines right now than DeBoer is. Maybe one day DeBoer goes there. But we will see. We got to move on though. Transfer portal, Bill. We got the transfer portal coming up in a couple days. It opens on what, Friday, I believe.
Yeah, Friday is the date that it opens.
So, Bill, question for you. I have a couple questions for you. One, do you think that there's deals done already? I've heard. We all know they probably are, but what do you think? Do you think there's deals done? We're going to have all these breaking news on Friday, or you think it's going to be a slow play, like a couple days in, just to make it so it doesn't look like no one's talking right now?
I think you're going to have some teams that are going to say, we don't care. We know we have the impression that we throw money around. The Texas Techs of the world that have the oil money, they don't care about the impression. The deal is going to be done at 12:01 on December 2nd. But then you're going to have some teams like Indiana and some teams like maybe Florida and maybe LSU that are like, hey, let's not give the impression that we're tampering because we've got a lot of news behind us. And those are the ones that you'll see kind of trickle in. But let's be honest, the NFL has the free agency tampering window for this exact purpose. College football is going to have the same thing. Agents talk to coaches, agents talk to players, agents talk to teams. It would not shock me if there are a solid number of deals that are already done. And there's a solid amount of players in the portal right now. I think the last time that the official number was, it was north of actually 3,000 when you combine Division I, Division II, Division III before you even get to NAIA. So there's going to be a lot of movement. This is going to be college football's free agency. This is what is going to tune up to be, and I'm here for it. I am ready for it.
I mean, it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. Question. I have 3 questions for you, Bill. because everyone knows Bill knows ball, and I know you're locked in with a lot of stuff going on. You don't have to give away your sources or anything. I'm not asking you to do that here.
Yeah.
What's one player and team that you think is going to shock people, like when they see X players going to X team? Like if you just had to make a prediction, you don't have to reveal sources or any inside information or have. Just I want the people to know any shocking moves you could see coming down the pipeline that no one else really saw, or everyone's like, whoa, when did that happen?
Yeah. So I'll give you 3. I come bearing gifts of 3. The first one, Josh Hoover, TCU quarterback to Indiana. Obviously, with Fernando Mendoza more than likely moving on to the NFL draft, Kurt Signetti's got to go out. He's got to get a signal caller. You get a guy like Josh Hoover, who worked in the Big 12, who very athletic, has a very good arm, going to end up being a senior. It's Mendoza 2.0, right? And it's a little bit off the beaten path because everybody thinks Big 12 quarterbacks are just back there to sling it and throw it around all day. But Josh Hoover in Indiana, absolutely a very good fit there. Number 2, Aiden Childs to Arizona State. I wrote an article about it over at twsn.net, and I think it's more likely than not. Obviously, Sam Levitt is in the transfer portal. There's rumors abound that he'll be in Baton Rouge, that he could end up at Oregon if Dante Moore leaves, that he could end up at Indiana, he could end up at Florida, he could end up at Auburn. So if you're Kenny Dillingham, you need a guy that you can build your program around. You need a guy who's done it on the West Coast, which Aiden Childs has at Oregon State. You need a guy who's done it in the Big 10 because you're going to end up playing some heavier named teams. Obviously, in the Big 12, you don't see those kinds of defenses, but being battle tested. And then Aiden Childs is from Downey, California. He's from the West Coast. He knows that area. That is a culture fit to him. He knows what is there. And there were a lot of flashes, just like we saw with Sam Levitt, a lot of flashes with him. So same thing here. I think you have to look at it as this is a perfect fit. The third one, and this is the one that I think people aren't going to be too shocked by when it happens, but get ready for
when
it.
When it happens. Calling your shot here, or are you just using?
I'm calling my shot here.
Calling your shot. Okay. I like it.
Calling my shot plus what I've heard.
Okay.
Cam Coleman to the Swamp.
Wow.
Florida Gators. Imagine
that would be
a wide, and you got to think, because Buster Faulkner down there in Florida now, you've got Summerall down there, you get Cam Coleman, it becomes a lot easier to either find a quarterback in the transfer portal or recruit one, because you've got a guy like Cam Coleman who's an elite weapon on the outside that struggled in Auburn just because of the quarterback play and the offensive scheme around him that Hugh Freeze put in play. Cam Coleman to Florida is going to be probably the most surprising move, but also the most likely. And when we look back on this entire transfer portal, we're going to circle it in pen and say, yep, that's a CFP making move.
I love it. I mean, for Florida, that would, man, I mean, that might keep, do you think that might keep Lagway in Florida? New coach, maybe?
It very well could keep Lagway in Florida. I would say this. I would say if I were a betting man, I would say that they raid the Auburn portal once again, and Deuce Knight comes along with them, and your quarterback group is Deuce Knight and Cam Coleman down in the Swamp. They couldn't get it done in Auburn, but they can get it done in Gainesville.
I mean, Gainesville would be rocking next year if that were the case. That I like them. I like all three of those. 2 more questions for you, Bill. Then we'll actually get into some playoff talk. I know everyone wants to talk about playoff, but we have the transfer portal coming up. This is the last time we're going to talk about the transfer portal before it opens. So bear with us, everybody. Everyone likes transfer portal talk, though. It's okay.
Absolutely.
With all of the quarterback talent, we talked about some of the quarterbacks last week, right? In your opinion, who is the best quarterback in the transfer portal right now? Because there's been talk about this. Is it Lagway? Is it Sorsby? Because Sorsby seems to be one of the highest rated dudes in the transfer portal right now. You watch a lot of film. You know a lot of ball, right? Who is the best quarterback, like just pure quarterback right now?
if you're saying the best pure quarterback and best pure thrower of the football, it's Drew Mestemaker from North Texas. And what he did at North Texas, I think ultimately he probably ends up at Oklahoma State with Eric Morris as his head coach. And now you get the same conversation that you had with John Mateer and Ben Arbuckle that you now get at Oklahoma State with Drew Mestemaker and Eric Morris. And Mestemaker is just a pure thrower of the football. Just the way it comes off his hand just looks beautiful at times. And this is a guy, didn't start in high school. This is a guy who is just now working through how to be a quarterback, not even just a college quarterback, just a quarterback in general. If you said who's the best overall, for me, it's DJ Lagway because the traits are just so tantalizingly good. You have a guy who's 6'3", 247 pounds, moves in the way he does, has the arm talent that he does. I would say where he likely ends up is Baylor. His father played for Baylor. He is from Texas. He's from that area. That is his home. And for me, that's a perfect fit because now you go down to the Big 12 where it is spread it out, wide open offenses, and watch him go to work. So I would say the best pure quarterback prospect, it's Drew Mestemaker. The best overall talent at quarterback is DJ Lagway.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear you say that about Lagway. I'm glad that I can scout a little bit. He's been my guy all year, so I don't do much scouting, but Lagway made me look more into that. So I love it. My final question of the transfer portal: when all is said and done, when we are looking back next year, what one player to what one team is going to be the most impactful signing from the transfer portal this year? And that could be whether you turn the program around, it helps them win a championship, however you take most impactful. It doesn't have to mean turns them into a title contender, just impact.
Yeah. So I will say this. I think the most impactful that you're going to see is Chaz Coleman, the defensive end who originally at Penn State now has entered the transfer portal. I will say this. I think his eventual landing spot is going to be Florida State. And I think we're going to look at it and we're going to say, okay, this kid has come down to Florida State. He's come down to the Seminoles. And, you look at it, he is from Warren, Ohio, so Ohio State is clearly in the mix for him, but Florida State was also in the mix for him as well. And we've seen what Florida State has done with edge talent, Jared Verse, for example. But I also will throw this out there as well into the ethos, even though it hasn't officially happened yet. Don't be shocked if Texas starts sniffing around the portal for running back talent, because they've already lost Quintravion Wisner. They've already lost CJ Baxter. Hollywood Smothers, the NC State running back, to Texas behind Arch Manning, giving him a running game. That's something that could get Texas right back in the hunt next year.
We all saw throughout the year when Texas ran the ball, they were better, much, much better. It opened the game up for them, and they need to fix that. I love it, Bill. We will talk more portal stuff once we get back here, because by the time we come back here, we probably have some signings. Let's be real. But before we move on to this last part of this, where we actually talk about the playoff, please make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Just want to remind everybody, it really does help. Like this video. We appreciate all the support from everybody. Just want to say thank you. Hope everyone has a nice holiday and all that. But now, Bill,
yes,
we have to talk the college football playoff. We have to. Yes. It's here. We're in the quarterfinals. What better way than to ring out this time with the game going on tomorrow, Bill?
Yes.
Ohio State, Miami. Man, this game. The game's in Miami, Bill. No, it's not. Sorry, that's the Oregon game. I'm dumb. Don't listen to me.
Oregon.
Don't listen to me. Don't listen to me.
Yeah.
The game is not in Miami, but Miami will be playing in the game.
Mm-hmm.
You have been on record talking about Ohio State's offensive line for weeks, months, right?
Yeah.
They finally are going to play Miami. I think this is a matchup I think both of us wanted to see because we think Miami's defense is just lethal, as we talked about. I think if I'm not wrong, if the last time, if not one of the last times, Ohio State played on New Year's Eve. I'm pretty sure Buckeye fans remember that game pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
Bill, are Buckeye fans going to have a much better time this year, or are they going to have their hearts broken on New Year's once again?
So I've been on record, as you said, this offensive line for Ohio State has looked rough. You saw it in the Big Ten championship game with guys like Hosea Wheeler and Stephen Daly. Those are not Ruben Bain Jr. and Akeem Mesidor. This Miami defense is going to make life rough for Julian Sayin. It's going to make life rough for Bo Jackson. It's going to put pressure on this Ohio State team to score. Do you remember Miami's last time that they had a shot at going back-to-back national champions? It was the Fiesta Bowl, 2003, in an overtime loss to Ohio State.
Loss.
Miami flips the script here. Give me the Hurricanes.
Wow.
Because we just watched Ohio State get punched in the mouth against Indiana. They now have to go 12 rounds with Mike Tyson against this Miami defensive line. And frankly, I don't think they've got the horses to protect Julian Sayin, and it's going to be a long afternoon.
So counter to that. Do you think that Miami has the horses to keep up with Ohio State? Because we just watched Miami's offense barely do anything against A&M. Granted, A&M has a very good defense, but I think we both agree that Ohio State has a better defense.
Yeah.
Are you worried about Carson Beck at all? Because I worry about Carson Beck every time I watch him play. So you never know what you're going to get from the guy. He could be great. He could be horrible. That's my one concern with Miami.
I agree. I think that is the conversation that you have to have. I think if it comes down to it, who do you trust more? Carson Beck, who's been through this during his time at Georgia, or Julian Sayin in his first college football playoff matchup that actually has some weight to it? For me, I'm taking Beck, but also give me Mark Fletcher Jr. over Bo Jackson. And the reason I say that is because Mark Fletcher Jr., we just watched him run down A&M's throats.
He did. And it was impressive. Man, it's hard to go against the logic, but I think the Buckeyes get it done. I hate to say it. I think the Buckeyes get it done. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I've seen some Ohio State fans thinking they're just going to go in there and beat them. I think it's going to be a tight game. I think much like the game against Indiana, it's going to be a very low-scoring game. I think Miami's defense keeps them in this game. I think Ohio State just has one too many weapons for Miami. They just I said last week I thought Ohio State might go to the championship game, but barely. I think they barely survive here. Move on to the next round. It's going to be a fun one on New Year's Eve. We'll see. Buckeye fans, at least it's New Year's Eve if you lose. Or at least it's New Year's Eve if you win. Either way, you can have your fun. Just want to point out we were supposed to have our guy Will Holland on the show today, but he had something come up. He will be with us for the semifinals, though, in case you're wondering why Will Holland's name is there. But we will have Will on the show. Will, we miss you. And we'll get you on the show next time. You've been a great supporter, and we want to hear all your thoughts. But we got to move on. Move on because no one cares about Ohio State anymore, quite frankly, except Buckeye fans. Georgia, Ole Miss, another rematch from the regular season. Georgia beat them last time. It was closer than I think most people expected. It was a fun game, but Lane Kiffin's not there anymore. And I know we talked about this last week, but against a team like Georgia, not having your leader in Lane Kiffin is going to help. And let me rephrase that. Lane Kiffin will be there, but he will not be on the sidelines. He will be in the stands watching the game. For all we know, maybe he'll call down and call plays. Who knows? I don't put anything past Lane Kiffin at this point. Dude, I really don't. I can't. He might be able to call. He'll call up Charlie Weiss at halftime, be like, "Hey, you're doing this wrong." Who knows? Lane Kiffin is Lane Kiffin. Georgia, give me Georgia. I can't until Ole Miss proves to me that they can beat a team without Lane Kiffin at this level. I think they're going to lose. I don't think it's going to be as close as it was. I really like this Georgia team. I know we've talked about their offense being a little inconsistent over the year, but I think Gunnar Stockton has improved. I think he's played pretty well. And that defense, while it may not be at the level of like the title teams that Georgia had the back-to-back years, they're still pretty damn good. And Kirby Smart is a coach you do not want to go against. He has had plenty of time to scheme against Ole Miss. He knows Ole Miss pretty well. I'm not betting against Kirby right now. Give me Kirby Smart. Give me the Dogs to move on. Bill, where are you going?
You hit the nail on the head there. If there is one coach in the entire CFP that you told me I could choose to say I don't want to coach against him in any way, shape, or form, it's Kirby Smart. As much as I love Signetti, as much as Day is a great play caller, Kirby Smart just finds that one little chink in your armor, that one little crack, and blows it wide open. And for Ole Miss, it's going to be Trinidad Chambliss. He's going to throw pressure at Chambliss. He's going to make Chambliss force him to beat him through the air, keep him in the pocket, pressure him all day. And I'm just not confident. It comes down to a quarterback confidence level. Am I more confident in Gunnar Stockton to not lose the game, or am I more confident in Trinidad Chambliss to win the game? And for me, I'm more confident in Gunnar Stockton keeping the Georgia offense on schedule and letting that defense just tee off on Ole Miss. Give me the Dogs.
And Gunnar Stockton has some experience in the CFP too. I mean, let's not forget he played last year for Georgia in the CFP. So if you want to talk experience there, I mean, he has it already. And this is not taking anything away from what Chambliss has been able to do this season, because his story is pretty impressive if you really think about it. Georgia's defense is something else. And yes, again, it was a closer game than expected last time they played. I don't think it's going to be that close this time. Maybe 10 points or more. Give me the Dogs. Glad we agree on that one. Now, the next game, I am not sure I don't know exactly where you're going on this one, because you have kind of flipped with both of these teams throughout the year. Mm-hmm. This was probably the hardest game for me to choose throughout this entire slate. What do you think? Because I have seen different opinions about this game, because you've got the defense of Texas Tech, and they still have a pretty damn good offense too. But then you have the athleticism that Oregon has, and Dan Lanning. I mean, Dan Lanning is one of the best coaches in college football, with experience here too. So, where are you going with this game?
For me, it boils down to two things, and they're playing each other. It boils down to Dante Moore at quarterback and how he handles pressure versus Jacob Rodriguez in the center of that Texas Tech defense, and how his play calling from that defensive coordinator gets in the head of Dante Moore. For me, it comes back to, it's the same conversation I had with Miami and Ohio State I have here. I am much more confident in this Texas Tech defensive line with David Bailey, with Jacob Rodriguez, with Romello Height, than I am in an Oregon offensive line that their best prospect is probably Iapani Lalolu in the center position and Isaiah World at left tackle, but both have struggled this season. You go back to the Penn State game and Dennis Sutton, World struggled there. Now you're going to match up with David Bailey, who, 12 and a half sacks this season. And then you go back to the Iowa game. What did Iowa do to Dante Moore? Pushed the pocket, compressed him in, and forced him to find a way to get out of pressure. And that's one of the things that people don't want to talk about as much with Dante Moore, is he's such a young quarterback. This will be his 20th career start in college football. He hasn't found that in case of emergency break glass yet. Texas Tech's going to force him to find it quickly. I don't know if he does. I'm taking the Red Raiders here.
Yeah, and honestly, that my biggest concern all year long, heading into the year, I wondered, what does Dante Moore look like? Because, I mean, he wasn't great at UCLA. We all saw it. That was my big concern with the Ducks heading into the season. I believe I originally had the Ducks missing the CFP. I think I don't remember, but or they were coming close to missing it. But he has proved me wrong throughout the year. I have become a big Dante Moore fan. I think his toughness in games, and I know they lost to Indiana, but he showed a lot. I am worried about Texas Tech dealing with the athleticism of Oregon, because they have not faced a team like this yet.
Yeah.
Nothing against BYU, right? Nothing against anyone from the Big 12, but Oregon is a different animal. And I think at the end of the day, Dan Lanning and this team are going to move on. I think they're going to narrowly beat Texas Tech. Texas Tech's defense is incredible. I think they're going to give Dante Moore fits, but I think he makes one play that puts them over the top. I trust Dan Lanning in this situation. He has shown a lot of poise over the last few years, this year especially. I like Oregon. There's something weird about Oregon. I mean, I said last week I thought they were going to win the championship. There's like a weird vibe with me with Oregon this year. I don't know why. And I felt it with Michigan 2 years ago. Last year I didn't feel it with Ohio State, but I mean, most people didn't see that coming, to be fair. Something's going on in Eugene. And I think down in Miami, this is the game in Miami. I think Oregon comes out on top. But it's going to be a hell of a game because both of these teams are really, really good. And I think this could end up probably being one of, if not the best college football playoff game we've seen maybe in the last 2 years.
Yeah. I will give you this statistic too. If Moore has time to create, he is 13-0 when his average of passing attempts is more than 7 yards an attempt. So if he has a higher average than 7 yards an attempt, he's 13-0 in his career.
Which is an astonishing stat if you really think about it. I think Oregon finds a way. I don't know how, but I think they find a way. Look, I'm not going to be mad if Texas Tech wins this game either because I've loved watching what the Red Raiders have done this year. It's been really great to see. It's going to be a fun one. But now the game I know you have been dying to talk about. Your Indiana Hoosiers taking on the big, bad Alabama Crimson Tide. You have been on the Hoosiers all year, Bill. You picked them to win the national championship. Yep. You have been the biggest Fernando Mendoza fan. Indiana, if Indiana gets to the championship game, they better bring you. They better send you a ticket, take you to the game. I'm advocating for you here. I think you should. You were on this team from the very beginning when no one else was. I'm assuming you are sticking with your Hoosiers in this game. Am I correct in that statement?
You are correct in that statement. However, I will say this. This is going to be the closest of the 4 games this weekend in this set of brackets, because the one thing that concerns me the most about Indiana versus Alabama is Stephen Daly is not going to be in this game for Indiana coming off of the edge. So now if Alabama can find a run game and make this thing competitive, because Daly ranks second in the FBS in tackles for loss with 10. If Alabama can find a run game and not be one-dimensional, they have a chance to hang around in this thing till the fourth quarter. I still like Indiana. I still trust Fernando Mendoza more than I do Ty Simpson, even though I just sung Simpson's praises about how he played in round 1. You still have that SEC championship performance in the back of your mind. But give me the Hoosiers on a last-second field goal in the first time they've been in the Rose Bowl since 1968 to move on to the next round.
I am so glad that you said that you think this game is going to be close, because I thought you were going to come up here and say that Alabama was going to get blown off the field and Indiana was just going to run away with this, because I'm taking the Crimson Tide to win this game.
Ooh.
We've talked all year long about, the gut feeling for a game, right? Like, that was something I think all of us had at least once or twice throughout the year. I don't know what it is. I can't shake the fact that I think Alabama is going to, I don't want to say expose Fernando Mendoza, because he has been really good this year. Obviously won the Heisman. He's going to have his worst game of the season against Alabama here. And I still don't think Alabama's going to win by that much. They're going to win by like maybe 5, 6.
Yeah.
They need to have a running game. They need to run the ball a little bit. They have been so one-dimensional. It has been kind of laughable at times. But if there's ever a chance to break that open, it is right now. Get it out of the way. Figure it out. Indiana is a very good team, but there are flaws in that team. As we have seen over the year, there's been moments they could have lost. I mean, Oregon, Iowa, they almost lost to Iowa. Let's not forget that. They had that last second, Penn State, I believe, when they got the touchdown at the end of the game. Yep. It's not like Indiana has been blowing teams out all year long. They've had some close contests. And look, to their credit, they've won the games. That's all that really matters. I think that trend ends here. I think Alabama steals this game, moves on to the next round, and Kalen DeBoer keeps his job for another few years. Because I think if he wins this game, he can point to this being like, hey, you can't fire me. I took down the undefeated team. When people said we didn't even belong. We come back against Oklahoma, beat Indiana. Something's weird about Alabama right now. I don't know what it is, but something's telling me that the Crimson Tide are about to remind people who the Crimson Tide are.
That's fair. I will say this from a Crimson Tide perspective. They are 2-0 in bowl games against Heisman winners. First one being Gino Torretta in 1992. The other one being Kyler Murray back in 2018. Yep. So this is not their first rodeo. I will say this, though. Fernando Mendoza, his last time that he was in the state of California this season, UCLA, 168 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Prior to this season, back at Stanford, 229 yards, 3 touchdowns to end last season. There's something about the state of California that has him have a multi-touchdown game, and I am calling this shot right now. Mendoza is throwing for 3 touchdowns in this game, including 1 in the fourth quarter to put the game away.
I love it. And look, Bill, I'm so glad that we didn't pick the same teams here because it just makes it more fun because then we can talk trash to each other when we meet back up at the end of this. But you're wrong. I have to tell you, you're wrong. Alabama is going to win this game. This is coming from an LSU fan, so you know it must hurt for me to pick Alabama. The hate in my heart for the Crimson Tide. I should be going with Indiana here, but I can't. Something is telling me to pick Alabama, and I have to go with that. If this holds, if my bracket holds, it would be Alabama, Oregon next round. Yours would be Texas Tech and Indiana, which that would be a really fun game. Yes. Ohio, we both have Ohio State. No, you had Miami. Yep. Man, Bill, the only thing we did not really agree on anything here. We only agreed on one game, I believe, the Georgia game. 3 of the 4 games we did not agree on here.
Yeah. I think we're going to have a wild bracket. I will say this, and I'm going to say this now. The winner of the national champion is coming out of the top half of this bracket between Oregon, Texas Tech, Alabama, and Indiana.
I agree.
I think it is going to be one of those 4 teams. And I would lean, obviously, Indiana was my national championship pick. But if my bracket holds and it's Indiana versus Texas Tech in the next round at the Peach Bowl, whoever wins that is your national championship. Not the game in Miami. That one's your national championship.
Yeah, I said last week, I think the Oregon-Texas Tech game this week is the national championship. I think whoever wins that is going to win the championship. I really do. So it's going to be fun. Before we get out of here, Bill, 2 things. Mm-hmm. One, I have to remind everybody that our former guy, Josh, blew the massive lead in our pick'em throughout the year because I just have to. We're at the end of 2025. We have to make a new for 2026. So Josh, if you're watching this, I know you'll probably either watch it live or you're going to watch it later. Just remember you blew a 10 game lead. And secondly, Bill, any last words for the people before we head out of here? Exiting 2025 by the time, well, I guess there's 1 game left in 2025 because Ohio State plays. I don't like the schedule. I think they need to fix the college football schedule at least, but that's just me. What do you want to tell the people before we get out of here?
I will say this to the people. We talked all year about the ACC being a down year. This was a down year for them. I'm going to call my shot for 2026 and say it again. The ACC champion misses the college football playoff next year as well.
Man, ACC, oh God, ACC should just be banished to the Shadow Realm or something. I don't know.
Something.
We need, you know what? We need to like relegation like they do in soccer, where if you're
Yeah.
that bad, you just get dropped. I don't know. We got to do something about this. It's just not fun anymore. ACC fans have been going through it. I love that prediction, by the way. And you know, I enjoy it, but it's going to be fun few days of college football here. We will be back next Wednesday, not Thursday. Probably 7 p.m. Eastern time. I think that's what we agreed on, Bill. So we can break down every little thing that we just talked about. I can tell Bill exactly why he was wrong about Indiana. And that's the beauty of sports, is we get to go into 2026 and everything's nice and beautiful. Bill's going to enter with a loss, and it's going to be awesome. Congrats to Bill's Cleveland Browns. That was beautiful. I have to give you that before we head into 2026. Congrats to your Browns.
Yes.
We want to thank everybody for tuning in. Again, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. We really appreciate all the support every single week here. You know, we're going to be going live a couple more times for this season, and then we will call it a summer and see what happens. But we're gonna be breaking down everything here next Wednesday on the TWC Tailgate Show. But until now, I hope everyone has a awesome New Year. Stay safe. We will see you next week.